I timed it perfectly. 7 o'clock, I'm live, and it's 7 o'clock and 00 seconds when I started. That's the first time I've done that, so I'm really chuffed with myself, if nothing else. Sorry to start on that, but moment of pride to share. Hope everyone's well, or everyone that is in for right now. Could even be the 9,000th subscriber if you've not subscribed to the channel yet, because we are currently about 14 away from 9,000, which is very exciting. And I know I always say it's not about the numbers, but that's like quite exciting anyway, to hit little milestones as you keep going. So in fact, 16 away from 9,000. And this week, based on some discussions actually that I've been having with some really cool people that have signed up to the Patreon coaching, I thought it would be worth touching on a few things I've been discussing with them and talking about all the running things. Who's in? So Neil's in. How you doing, Richard? How do you pronounce that? Is it San or Sana? Hello anyway. And Barry, Eric, Alex, how we doing? I thought we would just, like I say, we're going to talk about all the running things that I think make the difference, because I've had a really, really interesting week this week, and I'm making a video about it for Sunday, so I don't want to give too much away, but I do want to talk about a new approach I have to my training. And if you're training, if you're watching this and you're training as you feel like it's plateaued, or perhaps that you are training through injuries, or you just want something different to think about, then that's what we can talk about tonight as well, because I'm really interested in what I've learned this week. Suzanne without the suit. Oh, okay, San. Okay, nice to meet you. And Steve and Adam as well. So hi. Hello, love. MHFC, love of my life. MH. Who's MH? A football club. Anyway, so we'll talk about running. Now we'll start with let's start with my meeting that I had with a physiotherapist on Thursday called Angel, and he's a cool Spanish dude. He's actually moving back to Spain, so I only get to see him once. So I had to try and rinse him of all his knowledge as quickly as I could, and also say I need to get you on the YouTube channel, because he came up with an interesting theory on why I'm continually getting injured that I hadn't considered. And if you're getting injured, or you just want a way to take your training to the next level, if you're at a plateau, or even if you're not, you don't have to be at a plateau. It could simply be that you're looking for new approaches to training. And I know that if Sean is in here tonight, it's Maccabi Haifa. Okay, got ya. If Sean is in tonight, then he will talk long about the Wim Hof method, but that's part of this. So anyway, back to the chat with Angel. He was saying that what he thinks is that the injuries that I've had, the stress that I've had, so I've had a stressful year at work. It's a new job and everything, so obviously stress goes up a little bit, and it's more pressure on me because it's a different job. But also, obviously, being hit by the car has caused this stress response where the body has tried to fix my broken collarbone, and what happens with the body, so Angel tells me, and the jury is out on all of this until I see it work for me, but I'll share it with you anyway, because it is fascinating. What happens to the body when you have a chronic, as in long-term problem, is that it probably has about 40 to 50 days worth of energy in the body that it can use to try and heal this problem. In my case, the the collarbone. But if you go past 40 to 50 days still in chronic injury and stress, as I was last year, then your body wants to take energy, or needs to take energy from elsewhere in the body to try and fix the problems. And it takes the energy from connective tissue and muscles. You can see where I'm going with this possibly. And so then once it takes energy from the connective tissues and muscles, breaks it down a bit, uses that energy to regenerate up here, I start to get problems with the connective tissues and muscles. I start to get injuries there. So then this endless cycle of just chasing, like I literally am chasing injuries around my body. And Angel was like, yeah, well, that's because this has happened. And I hadn't thought of it like that. But when you think about it, it makes sense. And there's a couple of ways that you can get yourself out of a pattern like this, a cycle or a plateau. It's not necessarily pleasant for your body, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. What it is lots of shock, lots of small shocks is what he suggested, because it's almost like setting the reset on a computer. It's almost like giving it, you know, the Control-Alt-Delete here. And that's what I'm doing. So he suggested things like cold showers, ice showers, or saunas. So something where you go extreme cold or extreme heat. Cryotherapy, like I had last week, would work. He said try fasting, 13 hours minimum, and that can be achieved by hi Andy, that can be achieved by literally eating at 7 o'clock and not eating until 8 o'clock the next day. So it doesn't have to be in the daytime, but 13 hours overnight was suggested, and I've been doing that. He also suggested that instead of doing long, easy sessions like I tend to at the moment, do short, sharp things that shock your body. Don't go for long time. So the pattern here is introducing lots of different stimulus that's shocking my body out of this cycle of kind of injury. But at the same time, what I have to do is I have to help reduce the inflammation in my body, because there's obviously an inflammatory response that's just continually in my body and doesn't die down. And the way I'm doing that is, yes, Eric, it depends on how long your injury has been, Eric. So if it's been under 40 to 50 days, so Eric's asked if it would be the same for any type of injury, such as foot issue. It could well be. I mean, this is an option I'm exploring, because remember, my injury started there, but then I had calf issues, then I had foot issues. So because after 20 days, 40 to 50 days, this didn't heal properly, then I started picking up the other things. If you can heal your foot injury within that time frame, you'll probably be all right with your normal process. But if you're looking for a way to change it up because you're continually getting injured, then this is what I believe might be of a help. The other thing he told me is I need to reduce my inflammation. So my inflammatory response is up around the body, and I need to reduce that. And he said, oh, you need to eat fish, and you need to eat or white meat and fish, and take and eat nuts, all anti-inflammatory. And I was like, okay, well, I'm allergic to nuts, so I can't eat nuts. And fish, I have been completely scarred by my mum when I was a kid. We were talking about it the other day. She made me the cod liver oil emulsion from a spoon, and she says it still haunts her just seeing me retching and like throwing back up into a bucket. And I've never been able to eat fish since. It's totally scarred me. So I need help there. But I have to look at other ways of reducing inflammation. And the things I was suggested was turmeric. So I've ordered some turmeric tablets. Magnesium would help as well, and cod liver oil, because obviously I can then cod liver oil in a capsule. I don't have to actually taste it. So I'm trying to reduce the inflammation within my body. But all of this is going to take 3 to 6 weeks. I'm making the video about it, so I've probably given the game away, and you might not watch the video on Sunday now, but I am making the video about it this Sunday, about the process that I'm going through. But that, in a nutshell, is what I've learned this week, and I am fascinated by it. And if you're fascinated by it, it's called psychoneuroimmunology, and it's how the brain and the immune system are actually linked closer than we think. So worth looking into. Now, some questions. Mohammed, please share your views on omega-3, vitamin C and B complex supplements. Well, funnily enough, like I just said, I probably mentioned it after you asked that question. I have on and off, I've taken supplements throughout my life, some vitamin D in the winter, but I'm going to try and make a really concerted effort to take cod liver oil consistently, because it is, vitamin B and vitamin D, and then omega-3 as well, which is supposed to be, really good for you, good for the skin, good for reducing inflammation. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try turmeric. Everyone's talking about turmeric at the moment. You see adverts for it all over Facebook. I don't know if you do, but I do. And magnesium as well. I can't remember why I'm supposed to take magnesium. What, Mary? Do you remember why I'm supposed to take magnesium? Healing or something. I don't know, but I'm willing to give it a go. Put it that way. So, turmeric in milk. Oh, turmeric in milk. Is that a thing?
I've heard that. People have
turmeric in warm milk, a natural anti-inflammatory. Well, I'm willing to try it. And Adam, oh, hello, mate. How you doing? So we've got to sort out when we chat. So Adam's signed up to Patreon for the coaches chat. I've had 2 really good, really productive chats today with Sai and Theo. It's been brilliant. So I'm looking forward to that, Adam. I'll sort you out a date and time after this. So you're allergic to bananas, and all nutritionists recommend bananas. I know, it's a nightmare, isn't it? I mean, I love nuts. I love eating peanuts and stuff like that, and I'm allergic to them because, or I'm not, I'm allergic to other nuts, but the doctor said don't eat any nuts because one wrong nut could be your doom. So it's one of those things, isn't it? It's annoying. Andy, beetroot juice. Yeah, that is nitrates, isn't it? Now that's supposed to be more to do with the oxygenation in the blood and getting it to the muscles better, I think, and therefore increasing your training capacity. I believe that's the nitrates thing, isn't it? How much protein intake are you taking in grams whilst running activities? How to maintain muscle mass? Well, I actually don't take additional protein, and I don't have an issue with muscle mass. Although, I mean, you could call me. I look a bit like Gollum, really. It's just a genetic thing. My mum and dad are small, and I've always been small. So even when I was working hard in the gym before I was a triathlete, I couldn't put on too much muscle mass. It all just kept me lean and toned, but I couldn't get myself bigger, which is a frustration, but it is what it is. So I don't take protein, but I what is it? 22 grams per serving is what you're supposed to take, maybe 3 or 4 times a day. Is that right? Magnesium is good for sleep. Thanks, Neil. Yeah, I'm keen. I mean, I actually get quite a good night's sleep, but from what I gather with all of this different approach, so with the turmeric, with the cod liver oil, and with the magnesium, and also with the cold showers, and that your sleep will be improved as well. Because I get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, but it's kind of broken sleep. It's never consistent. Mary literally does this. You do. Mary just goes out cold, and that's it. And she's like a log. But I'm not so much. I'm a much lighter sleeper, which is of frustration. And if you haven't read the book Why We Sleep, then definitely read that, because it is an eye opener. And if you get any less than 7 hours sleep, then trust me, your body is breaking you down from inside, and you might feel okay about it, but it's only because your body has trained itself to be all right with that level of sleep, that being tired is your normal, so your body just accepts it as normal. So it's worth looking into it, because it's written by a sleep professor called Matthew Walker. So really interesting book on sleep. How do you increase running stamina? And B, you get tired quickly. And this is Shikar. So Shikar has been asking me a few questions this week. I do need to reply to you, and I know that. Hi, Brittany. But you increase your running stamina, Shikar, by running at a really easy pace, a pace that you could hold conversations for, because that's building your aerobic base. That's kind of the most important part of running, really, is doing a lot of runs where you would be able to hold conversation, 6 out of 10 in terms of your effort, that level of running. That's 80% of all of your running needs to be at that level. So that's my easy answer for you. So going back to last week, did you say to get your MHR done professionally on a treadmill? Max heart rate? No, I didn't. That wasn't me. Did I say, can you elaborate on that, Andy? I'm not sure what you're saying, but did you mean that I was suggesting to other people that you can get your heart rate done professionally on a treadmill? I can't remember talking about that. So Brittany, tomorrow you're doing 1 day 3 of the 10-week program. So far, so good. Really enjoying it. Well, good. Thank you. And it's one of those programs that I created over years of coaching and finding out what kind of works for the majority. So there's some people that I coach that want to run nearly every day, and there's some people that I coach that, like me, can't, literally cannot run back-to-back days. I can't do it. My body won't allow me anymore, so I have to take gaps. And the 3 days of running with some strength and conditioning was that perfect balance, I think. And I think on some of my plans, there's some short interval sessions to make it a 4-day running week, but they're not too aggressive. And they seem to be working. This new one that I've put out, the website, in terms of hits, has just gone crazy. It's had a crazy amount of hits for people looking for the PDF. I think hopefully for just that plan, but I'm as we go, I'm putting up plans. I have to admit to create the PDFs, I don't have Adobe Acrobat, and you need Adobe Acrobat to create the hyperlinks. So I'm sending my plans to my mate who's doing them for me, and I feel bad sending them in bulk. So I'm just trying to drip feed him them so he does them for me. But it is all helping, and like I say, they seem to be working for people, which is brilliant for me, and it makes me feel good that I'm able to give something back. Oh, and okay, Andy. So you mean going to a shop and having a test done on a treadmill? Do you mean a heart rate test in a shop? We were talking about getting a run analysis done, but not I wouldn't say in a shoe shop. There are some specialist people that do run analysis, who I would recommend. Really, really beneficial for if you've had an injury. Obviously, you then change the way you run. I don't know if you've seen one of Ben Park's recent vlogs. He had a new run analysis done after his ankle injury, and he had changed the way he's run. And if he hadn't have spotted that would have turned into his normal running gait and created injuries. So really fascinating stuff. Okay, Eric. Very useful plans. Thank you. And Neil, have I got proper running socks? I do have proper running socks, but I only use them on particular runs, usually the long runs. I can get away with just using my rubbish old Donne type socks that I bought in Sports Direct for like £5 for 4 billion socks. So I do use those, but I know for the longer runs, I use proper running socks. Yeah, I have a mixture. I have Balega are the socks that I use, and I've got some compression socks from from Compress Sport, which are really lovely. They're the ones I race in. Oh, lactate threshold at endurance store. Okay. Yeah, no, I've never done a lactate threshold test other than when I was at university, and I wouldn't want to see what it was then, because I was playing football then rather than training, running, and I wouldn't imagine that it would be very good. But I have done a lactate threshold test before. But you can do them at shops. I just don't know how, for runners, even up to to where I'm at, and runners of all sorts, I don't know how handy a lactate threshold test will be, because it's more to do. Yeah, I suppose it could be handy, but a heart rate threshold test is a decent one, and that's so much easier and free, of course. So just go out and run 5K, like I said, and do the last 3K of your heart rate is the average heart rate is your heart rate threshold. And if you put that into Training Peaks, then you're off to a good start. And can fartlek be an alternative for interval training? Yeah. Fartlek is interval training. It's just a different way of naming it. It's Swedish for speed play. So it is playing with your speed, but it's also playing with the terrain and playing with the inclines. So fartlek is definitely interval training. What other cross-training activities could you do apart from swimming and cycling? Oh, good question. Yeah, I mean, lots of people do rowing, indoor rowing, which is quite good. But I always found if you've got a bad technique, then you're more likely to hurt your back. But you got the elliptical in the gym. Yeah, it's quite a hard one, because they're your 3 main staples, aren't they? Playing team sports, of course, is cross training, but you run a larger risk of injury, I guess. I certainly stopped playing football because I was getting injured more and more. I'll have a think about that. Andy's, will that not give you your heart rate zones? Yes, it probably will if they measure that as well. They tend to measure on lactate threshold tests. They do millimoles of lactic acid, and is it at what it mixes in with the heart? I'm really struggling to remember how you do a lactate threshold test, but yes, it should do your heart rate as well, and it should give you where your lactate threshold is when so your lactate climbs like that in the blood. So your blood lactate level climbs like that while you're exercising. And have you ever got to that point when you're running where you just like, you're giving it everything and it feels like you couldn't go anymore, but yet you're going slower? Have you ever done that? I've done that so many times. Well, that tends to be when your lactate levels in the blood are going up, and you get to this point where it just goes poof and takes off like a rocket. Like the lactic acid just floods the system. And the only way that the body can get rid of that lactic acid is by slowing you down to introduce more oxygen, because it's oxygen that removes lactic acid. So you're not getting enough oxygen to remove the lactic acid, which is why it's spiking. And the only way the body can get rid of it is it makes you slow down. You have no choice in the matter. It's almost like a overwrite technique, like a kill switch or something. It's amazing, the body, but that's how lactic acid works in the body. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, rowing is one, Neil, absolutely. What's your name? I don't want to call you Very Interesting Projects. Seems like a weird name to call you, but you kept rolling your ankles playing football, which is exactly what I did. And Said, greetings from Mexico. Hello. And you asked earlier how to join the chat, so welcome aboard. How was my vitamin supplements intake? How much per day and which did I take? So vitamins I've taken in the past, I have taken cod liver oil in the past. I've taken magnesium and iron. I take vitamin C every day. I have 1,000 milligram vitamin C effervescent in water every day. Mary and I have that. Have I taken any other supplements? I've taken iron before in liquid form. That was grim. What was that really grim tasting one, Mary? You know, the one in that bottle and it was like brown. Can you remember? Mary will think about it, I'm sure. But there was one that I took that was just really disgusting, but it was like apparently very good for you. Floridix? Was it called Floridix? Oh, yeah. What was that? No, I don't know. Iron. It might be, yeah, I think it was the liquid iron one. Sorry, we went off on a tangent there, didn't we? So, you don't know if it's on the topic, but just recently got into 5K and wanted to start training for 10K, as that's always been a huge achievement for you. How important is it to do the interval training? It's not important to do interval training for 10K. I would only say it's important to do interval training when you want to get faster at 10K. But if you want to complete a 10K, which I would advise everyone to do before they try and run it hard, then interval training is not important. Don't worry about it. It's the one that is more likely to get you injured in the early days because it's so aggressive. And if you have a poor technique or your muscles aren't ready for that kind of, high level of running, then you could open yourselves up to injury. So be careful. And Sweden, greetings from Sweden. Whereabouts in Sweden? And that's Powell. So we went to Sweden last year. I've been to Sweden loads of times. We've got two of my best mates live in Sweden. So I've been to Sweden loads. I absolutely love the place. And from experience, Neil, bad technique can hurt. Absolutely. I am your classic example of that. Definitely. So you're from, Birmingham. Amrit from Birmingham. Okay. So, it is Peaky Blinders country, isn't it? The Peaky Blinders. So Brittany, on your run days, you run right after doing strength training for beneficial fat burning purposes because it's your main goal. Do you think it tires me out more doing it right after? Yeah, difficult one to answer because it depends on what type of strength and conditioning training you're doing, whether it's proper strength like weights. What happens is when you tire your muscles out and then you try and get them to do a repetitive technique for a long time, like running is thousands of steps, isn't it? If they're already tired, the chances are that you're going to you know, eventually they're going to fatigue and your technique is going to go downhill. And then when that goes downhill, that's when you pick up overuse injuries. So you have to be really careful about how you factor in your strength and conditioning and when, because like I say, tired muscles leads to running technique faults and leads to injury. So do be careful. Make sure that you stretch afterwards and all of that kind of stuff. So Powell, Luleå, where's Luleå? Whereabouts in Sweden is that? So I've been to Stockholm, Halmstad, Jönköping, and Ängelholm. I think I'm pronouncing them right, but the Swedish people are always very proud about how they pronounce things, and I always get it right and get it wrong. And my mates always have a go at me because I was once trying to pronounce Freddie Ljungberg that played for Arsenal, and the guys were like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Ljungberg plays for Arsenal." And they're like, "Oh, Ljungberg." Apparently, that's how you pronounce it in Sweden. So I'm always getting it wrong. So Saeed, do you use barefoot running shoes or what type? No, I use, so this is an old pair, but I use Asics Gel Nimbus or Gel, was it Nimbus or Cumulus? Gel Nimbus, isn't it? Nimbus. Yeah, Gel Nimbus. So I used Gel Cumulus for a while, but they were a bit too stiff, and then I went up to Gel Nimbus and it felt like running on clouds, and I've never come down from those clouds. That's what I use always now. And I moved to Saucony once because they were lighter trainers, but I got injured, so I went back to Asics. Right, Chris, what little tricks do you use when you hit that dark place on a hard effort? I use the trick that Mike Porteous, a friend of mine, told me, and it's quite a recent one. Usually I just quite like being in a dark place. I'm a bit weird like that. But he told me that you should tell yourself when you're in a really dark place, when you're running, you should tell yourself, this is really hard, but I do hard things. So you're creating a narrative for yourself. You're telling a story for yourself that this is where you're meant to be, that actually you embrace it, that you're waiting for it. It's like a hello old friend type thing. You know, there's no dark places anymore because actually the dark places should be afraid of you, if that makes sense. It's just a twist in mentality, I guess, like training yourself to be that person that's proud that they can go to a dark place, because you'd be surprised how many can't push themselves to dark places. And that's where all the really juicy benefits are when you're doing interval sessions. So Brittany, you keep your leg day training for off running days, and running days is more upper body, and you're trying to benefit both areas without too much exhaustion. Yeah, that will work. Upper body and a run, absolutely fine. And leg training on a different day, definitely. Does running reduce muscle gains? To an extent, I think it would just produce a leaner body, because if you run at the low zones, then obviously you're burning fat, but of course you are using protein in a different way to repair the body from the running. So when you're trying to build muscle, you need all that protein, you know, going to the muscle. But that being said, I wouldn't say that you can't do both. They're not mutually exclusive. If you've seen Ross Edgley, then you'll know you can do really a lot of aerobic exercise and still be a beast. So if you don't know who Ross Edgley is, check him out and see what he looks like. He did a triathlon with a tree on his back. He's an absolute beast, and he's a really lovely guy as well. Yes, you're right, Amrit. It is Hello Darkness, my old friend. Mark, you live in a quite hilly part of Hampshire. When doing your easy runs, your heart rate will spike when you hit a hill. Should you walk hills to keep the heart rate low? I usually like to attack them. Yeah, I can't, you know, do you know what, Mark? I can't tell you to stop and walk, because I don't attack them. What I try and do is I treat it like a game where I'm going up a hill. I know what heart rate I need to be in. And although I can't be there, I try to see if I can get as near to my low zones as possible, but whilst still running. I just turn everything into a game, like a test, if you like. And that makes me at least focus on my heart rate where I'm at and trying to be in the right place. Although knowing that if you're on a hill, it's really, really difficult. And likewise, going downhill, actually, you have to push a lot harder even to get to, you know, where you want to be if you're doing a tempo run, for example. So, does BCAA work for running? What is BCAA? I don't know what that is. I probably do, but maybe I don't know that acronym. Do hill runs make us fast, and can the changes be seen on pace? Hills make you a technically better runner, I think, because you really have to focus on the technique of pushing up a hill. So therefore, it will make you more efficient and faster. But do it sparingly, and if you're training for long distance, of course, you don't necessarily need to do a lot of hill intervals, but you could run on hills, for example. Any tips for road running? Please make a video on running for weight loss. Shreyas, easy. Oh, great surname as well, Lesnar. So easy one there. It is all about the base zones. It's all about running at low zones. You could try some fasted runs as well, as long as they're not too long, and take some fuel with you for just in case. But I used to do my first cycle into work before breakfast. So it's 45 kilometers in the easy zones, but having not eaten. So there's options there for weight loss. Train your body to burn fat over carbohydrates. If you push hard, you burn carbohydrates, which you don't want to do. You want to save them. If you go easy, then you burn fat. You've just spotted a new Facebook page. It will be great to interact with everyone on that. Yeah, Sarah, definitely get involved, be in there. That's one thing I want to mention is I realized, over this last year and a half, I've had this Facebook page, which is me putting out stuff. And the only way I get to interact with people is if they comment on those posts. And I want people to talk to each other and share stuff they find or things that inspire them in a group. So I've created a This Messy Happy. It's called This Messy Happy Running and Triathlon Group. And people can just go in there and chat. And I'll be in there and we can all just, it can be a community like I wanted it to be in the first place. But obviously, being an idiot, I didn't get it right. But I'm trying to put that right now. So go and join the Facebook page, get involved. And like I say, if you haven't subscribed yet, if you want to be the 9,000th subscriber, I've got 15 to go. So one of you might be the 9,000th. Someone watching that. San, Mrs. Hills in the Netherlands. Yeah, do you know what? I'll swap you any day. I live right on the downs here and it is just hills galore everywhere. And I just crave some flat. I can't ever do a 5K time trial because I don't have anywhere near 5 kilometers of flat. Branched chain amino acids. I have had them before, Shreyas, but I don't know enough about them to comment really, I'm afraid. Okay. Vishan, you've never run a lot in your life, but you went too hard and hurt your legs. So what should an absolute beginner do? You're 6 foot, 65 kilograms. Follow one of my plans, Vishan. Follow the beginner to 5K 12-week one, or I think it's a 10-week one that I've put out there. So that will give you plenty of time. There is absolutely no worries about doing run walk intervals. It will get you to the right place and it will get you there safe, and it will teach you, hopefully while you're doing the plan, it will teach you about building a relationship with running for life rather than going too hard too early and blowing out. Because that's let's be honest, a lot of people do it. A lot of people blow out a run in early because they go too hard because they're excited. And excitement's great, but tempering the excitement and being smug and doing the right thing, so training smarter, not harder, is the best. So, well, I'll do a couple more. I've already eaten, by the way, so I usually tell people what I'm eating at the end of this, but I've already had it. So I had sausage and chips takeaway because we're out for dinner at a friend's house tomorrow night, so we moved it to Thursday. So this is my smug face. Powell, as a newbie runner, what heart rate zone should I aim at? How much should I spend in your peak zones? As you notice that with time, you can spend longer time in my peak zone. What's your peak zone here? I'm wondering what you think your peak zone is to what I think the peak zone is, because I don't think there's no such thing as a peak zone in my head, but you tell me what you mean by that. But you need to spend 80% of your time super easy, 6 out of 10, be able to hold a conversation. I'll always say that and do that consistently. And then 20% should be intervals, hard, super hard, nothing in the middle. Save the middle bit for race day. Brittany, the 10-week one's working well for you. Good. And even though you're only on day 3, you like it so far and you're an absolute beginner as well. Keep going, Brittany. I'm really excited for your progress as well. And keep me in the loop. Keep us in the loop. Join the Facebook group if you like. It'd be really cool to see someone going through it and, progressing and sharing their progress. And, people can feedback and people can help you. Does doing long strides injure us? Yeah, I mean, yes. If you do long strides and you land ahead of yourself, then you're putting shock going up diagonally into the body. And if you land under yourself, then of course you're absorbing all the impact. So it depends on where you're landing, really. Rodney, you're trying to return back to running, but mentally it is so hard. It is hard, mate. Do you know what? I always say that. It's like, you know, when the strongmen push cars and the amount of effort it takes a strongman to get a car moving. But once it's moving and once they have the momentum, then it's okay. And I always say that that's the same thing with running. The biggest thing is getting it moving, and then the momentum is a little bit easier to do. You know, if you keep stopping and starting, then you're always just having to push this car again. That's how I think about it. And what's stopping you, Rodney? Tell me, and I might be able to help you. So I'm going to go because it's already 36 minutes. It's too long. But it's been a good chat. Thanks for everyone. Thanks for the interaction. Like I say, if you've not joined the Facebook group yet and you want to get in there and chat with people and share things you've seen or other YouTubers that you like or research that you've seen, anything, that's what it's for. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you could be the 9,000th. So get yourself over there. And oh, hi, Matt. I didn't even know you were here. Have a great evening yourself. And hopefully everyone's really, really well. And look forward to the video that I'm going to put out on Sunday that sums up all of the stuff that I'm talking about at the start of this video, but just in a better way. Right. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you on Sunday. Have a good one.